Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Sir, I have 25 questions for you and 5 questions from the
Sure.
viewers.
Okay.
5 questions from the viewers.
Right.
So, shall we go about it? So, shall we start recording this?
Sure, please.
Yes. Sir, first question. How would you love to be called as, apart from being called as a physiotherapist? You want to be called as an academician, clinician, or a researcher?
Teacher.
Teacher. Great. So, what motivates you on a day-to-day practice as a physiotherapist when you go about your clinical practice? What is a motivating thing?
Right. So I'm just saying that I can't run away from the money point of the financial incentive of doing. But beyond that, I also think that I like when people say that I have helped them with their health issues. I like that feeling. So I think that's also an important motivating factor.
Great, sir. Do you have any teachers to remember who had shaped up your career in particular?
Right. I always said my lecturer, Mr. Sai Ram, he identified two things in all of us, mostly when we studied there. One is that what we study is not enough, right? There's a whole world out. And personally, he kept on saying that I was just lazy and I'm not working hard enough to fulfill my potential, which I still think that I am not, but that was a very important question.
Okay.
And then my professor, Mary Chidambaram, she inculcated our sense of ethics and duty. And the ethics was fairly simple. She said, treat your patient as though you're treating your mother or father or any other relative. So these are the two most important people who shaped me in my early stages.
Okay. Tell me something about your love life. Had a love marriage or an arranged marriage?
I don't know why you want to know that, but anyway, she was my. We were neighbors when we were small.
Right.
When we were in kindergarten or something like that, and we met later on, and right, that's it. And, that's one of the important things I did in my life, or the important thing I did in my life.
That's great, sir. Great. What you want your kid to be, profession-wise?
Nothing specific. I told him he can study even English because all his teachers also told him that he was doing English far better than anything else, and he used to read a lot. But sadly, he didn't want to do. Only thing I want him to be is again beyond the financial incentive is to be of any value to somebody in the society. Okay. Just for one person, if there is valuable, I think that is far more what I can envision for other people.
Okay, getting into some more serious thing.
Right.
Do you think the syllabus adopted in current physiotherapy colleges and university is good?
I am not. Even the syllabus has a lot of issues. I don't have any qualms about that particular issue. I think the objective is what is, I think, is has a very. I don't think there is any objective in the syllabus. That is the problem. Say, for example, what are we trying to produce? What are they going to do after? Say, for example, we keep on saying that we will do first contact practice, but our objective is not reflecting that. That's the first problem. Also, if you look into specifics of it, a lot of it is written as though they are didactic. That is true or false, rather than saying that this is a technique. They treat it as though this is the technique. Say whether it is manual therapy or NDT or MRP, functional. They teach you as though this is the way to treat a patient, which I find it to be that's not how physiotherapy should be taught.
Okay. So in that case, will you come up with a model syllabus?
I could, but I find it. I don't know what's the value or who is going to take it seriously.
I
But we thought. Sorry.
I think
Go ahead.
I can tell you the answer for this. Sir,
Mhm.
nowadays most of the universities, though we think the standards are high or something like that, they really adopt the syllabus of some other university. They just cut and paste.
Right.
Yeah, so definitely they will give a consideration to Harihom's syllabus, and though they give the credit to
It's
you or
not.
not, though they not Harihom syllabus, it might be a CBNR syllabus or a syllabus which is
I understand.
drafted by you.
The other issue I also want to know, I want to talk about is I have very little understanding of how to frame a syllabus.
Okay.
That's not my. I was not taught to do any of those things. Say, for
Okay.
example, Dr. Kavita in JSS
Hmm.
is a far superior person to do in these areas.
Okay.
Because I really don't have a slightest clue how to formulate a syllabus. What
Syllabus.
should be the objective of things like that. I can tell you some things like, say, for example, this should be in the syllabus or that should be in the syllabus. But
Okay.
to have a sort of a systematic way of doing it, which is never done here properly.
Okay.
So for that, you need people who have a far more superior understanding of those things. Even though I call myself a teacher, I don't have better ideas. But I can tell you certain things has to be there. Say, for example, the pain science has to be there, EBM has to be there, motor control has to be there, motor behavior syllabus. But I can't tell you the whole framing of it,
Framing.
which should come first, which could come later. These things are far more
Because if you
complicated.
see now, sir, people have research methodology in the final semester, and at the same time they have the project work also on the final semester. I mean, it is
Right?
not generalized. In certain
But
universities, it comes a little early, but in most of the universities, if you see, even Dr. MGR University, everything is in the last semester. So, how parallelly they can study research methodology and biostatistics, and
no,
how?
I have a different view. You should not be studying. That's the point of it. What is the objective of a physiotherapist? The objective of a physiotherapist is to work in a setting where we have patients and we can handle patients without much of supervision, right?
Okay,
So if I am posted in a, say for example, the girl who worked for us has gone to a GH now. She has got a government job and she has gone. So the objective is she can handle patients by herself. That is the objective. She is not
okay,
going to do research, or she doesn't have to understand research at any point of time, right?
okay,
So research and projects should not be in undergraduates. You can have it as an option even in post graduation. I am not for that, because what we need is application of research. You don't need to understand research. Say for example,
okay,
if you are studying MCA, you understand the application of computers. You don't study how the computer works. They don't need
right.
to know that. Likewise, you need to understand how what are the things we can learn from research, how to get answers from it. You don't need to understand the methods. So
That's
that's
great.
my view on the project.
Sir, how do you? What is your take on the current student ideology and the motivation levels compared to 20 years before, when you
Uh,
were a student?
I, I don't see much of difference. Only difference I can see is uh, why I'm saying that is at that time also there were, say for example, I'm including myself, saying that I was something better. I see there, if there are 10 people, there were 8 of them were lazy, right, and 2 of them were studying hard. I'm not saying that lazy people are not intelligent or something like that. They're just lazy, right? Uh, and the 2 people who are studying hard were finding it hard to find information. Right? You couldn't get a book, you couldn't get a journal or anything. Now the value now, or the difference is, the 2 people who are trying hard can get any information from
Anywhere.
US to Antarctica. They can get it like that. But one thing which is disappointing is, out of the 8 lazy people, then now also there are 80 lazy people. Even though if you open the phone, I can find all the information. So
Uh,
we need to overcome the laziness. That is one thing I would, uh,
it's a
if it
great
is in the 90s or now, that is the one
one
bigger
thing.
problem I think we have not overcome.
That's great. That's great, sir. Do you want to confess or say sorry to someone at this point of time in your career? Confess something?
Confess about what?
Oh, anything. Like, this is a famous question people ask to celebrities.
Okay. Mm, uh, I don't know. I have
No.
not thought of like that.
Okay.
And also, no.
No. Um, as we grew up, we had Dandapani sir, ADG sir, as one of our mentors, and he was our role model and who infused a lot of discipline in our career. So, what is your relationship with ADG sir? How do you see him?
Uh, when I was starting my career, and I didn't know who he was because he was at that time in Nirtar, so we didn't have any idea. Only thing, as I told you, my lecturer used to tell about him. That he was
Mm.
terrorizing and things. And in the 97, 98, he came back to Chennai, and I had attended in 97, 98. I'm not sure. 97, I think, if I can remember it, or it's 98. I attended a course called Nervous Tissue Mobilization, which was done by AGP.
Okay.
Afterwards, he used to give some lectures for, at that time, the Chennai IAP was actually working at that time, the 90s, right? Late 90s. So we used to have monthly lectures and he used to talk. And we were all afraid to go and tell him or ask him anything. Just afraid. If once I went and asked him and he said, go and read. So that's how I do. But everybody had such a great admiration towards him.
Yes.
But my experience is very little. But luckily, what has happened is now we are more connected. Nothing to do with anything else. Just that he thinks our clinical meetings are a good idea, and he comes there.
Okay.
He participates vigorously in all clinical meets, and it's always fun when younger people who don't have a clue who he is, and when he's asking questions, they are answering, and I'm like, oh my God, you are answering back to him. You know, well,
It is very. I saw him in one or two of your clinical meeting pictures. I was really taken back by surprise because I'm seeing him after a long time, maybe 3-4 years
right.
before I saw him. So it's great to know that you are associated with ADG sir, and next we are going to approach him for the meeting for an interview. So next is, have you ever felt bad for abusing someone on Facebook or social media?
Yeah, but that is not um, as I don't care.
No.
But I feel very, very bad. There is no question about it. But I just want to say one thing. If I am, most of the time, I don't know who I am talking to. Most of the time, right? So it is not personal. And also the other thing is, if you also say something rude to me, I really don't.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it goes, I suppose.
True.
But I have felt bad, especially one of the reasons for that is not that for anything. I just misunderstood what he has written, and I started. I didn't abuse him, but I started saying something else also. So that was a huge mistake, and his name was Sajan or something.
Okay.
A huge mistake for me.
I think he'll be convinced
Other than that,
now.
I don't.
He'll be
Sorry?
he'll be convinced if he see this video, and I think he'll be fine. So, do you think there is a North domination in IAP?
Not really. I don't. I really have very little idea about the IAP as such. This is the first year I got into it, not because of anything else, because I was angry that they are collecting money from.
Students?
Right. Other than that, I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
Because unlike other people, I don't think they are at fault of not getting the council also.
Okay.
It is not that easy if you go and sit with uh, any person in a higher authority. You will know that they will not give you anything most of the time, whether it is a college or whether it is you are a student and you go and ask your principal. He is not going to say yes to everything.
Okay.
I'm not finding fault with that, but I also don't think that there is a north south things and things like that. It's just that what I think is we have just thought that okay, do whatever we want, you want, we don't care, kind of. We have developed that attitude, I
Attitude.
think, because we just see the voting rate, right? With so much of votes, we just didn't vote at all. We just thought that it doesn't matter.
True.
I understand.
Okay, sir. Given the scenario, even though you don't have the consensus with having project works in BPT and MPT, but they are doing projects and they name that as a research also. What is your advice to them? They are somehow doing some project, so they have to do something. So how creatively they can do their MPT and BPT projects right now? Like in engineering, they do 4 or 5 people combine together to form a project work. uh, can they, when they are running out of ideas, why can't they club together to form a group to do some research?
Uh, I'll tell you what project we did when we were in college, because this project is not today. It was in the 90s also. The
Yes.
same thing went on. Right. So what we were told to do is they will have a list of topics. We didn't give them topics. They gave us list of topics, and it was a lot system, and you pick something, right? And you didn't do anything else. You did a case series on that.
Okay.
Say, for example, what I did was I got sports fracture, right? And that was my undergraduate ortho project, because we did two projects, one for ortho, another one for cardio. We didn't do neuro. So in the ortho projects, I got sports fracture. So what I would do is during the clinical posting, I went around and collected acute POTS fracture patients. I collected some patients who came to our clinic also, and then followed them up. So I had 3 or 4 case studies, I think. So our project was 2 parts. One is about writing about POTS fracture in the early stages, and later on a case series.
Okay.
Now, this is what I think we should do. And also this is what, if I can say it out, what some universities have also started doing this also. Case
Case
series are
series.
a wonderful way of understanding for yourself, leave alone doing the research. For us to understand a particular case, it's
Yeah.
a wonderful idea. If you follow a PA shoulder for 3 months, right, you will get ton of information than what you are reading in any book,
Anyway.
right? So that is one thing I would implore upon the staff to allow them to do,
Do.
right?
Yes.
Right. In post graduation also, I would suggest don't go into RCTs. RCTs will take anywhere from 3 years to 5 years to finish, right? A good RCT, because planning itself will take 1.5 to 2 years. So RCTs are not the way to go. Just do a simple survey. We have published 11 papers, all in proper journals with impact factor. None of it is on treatment. That is not possible at all at this point of time, because we have been trying to get a RCT for the last 5-6 years. We are unable to get money for that. Without money, you can't do RCTs, because
Correct.
you need somebody who is working on that project for 2 years. So you have to pay somebody to be a what we call as a research
Associate.
assistant,
Yeah.
right? So what I would suggest to them to do is a survey. What, say for example, what are your stroke patients? Do they want to go to the temple? Are they going to the temple? Are they going to the cinemas? Because we all think that old people don't want that. Everybody wants to go. You can understand that when we have COVID, right? And we
Yeah.
are all sitting and we are itching to go out, right? So you think of your patients like that. They are all sitting there for days and days. So they must be itching to go somewhere. So
Yeah.
find out what are they think they want to go. That kind of simpler project. Don't uh, do something spectacular. Spectacular is not even Nobel Prize winning authors don't want to do.
Great, sir. What was your most proud moment in your life?
Uh, uh, um, Other than my personal life, because I don't want to be an ass and say something like my son is born or my wife is my, but I think my book uh, is what I am most
Yeah.
proud of. Right.
Yes.
Right. That is the most proud of. Because of two things. One is I was able to write it. That is my. Uh, I open it now and it's poorly written. That's all right, but I was able to write it. And the other one was my mentor, Dr. Susan Harris. Uh, she wrote the forward for it.
Yes.
Uh, so these are the. That was a really,
Proud
really
moment.
proud.
Great. Are you coming up with the second edition of this, or?
Not really. This book itself
Great.
has not sold, so I'm not
Hmm.
sure what's the point of writing it again.
Uh, whom do you recommend if this person is elected as the next PM of India? He would do better.
Right.
Whom will you pinpoint?
My problem with politics is not a person. My problem with politics is
No, no, I'm not asking personally. This is from your point of view. You might have identified some personalities who might have impressed you as a politician or
Shashi Tharoor.
Sashi Tharoor. Great.
I'm not saying he's going to be better than anybody. I'm just saying that he seems to be better than other people I have seen. He might be the worst prime minister we may get. I'm just saying some person. That is all.
Great.
Because I thought Kejriwal will be good, but he has shown that he's also not that great also.
Okay. How do you see Hariohm without impulsive, emotional, and open-minded outbursts?
I don't see that.
Had it been like that, how Hariohm would have been?
People who know me will know that you rarely get to see me talk. Because I am anonymous in Facebook, it's easy for me to say something. Otherwise, if you come to my house, you will rarely see me talk.
What your family members like in you and don't like in you?
And my wife hates me writing in Facebook about religion. She hates that. That's why I write less about religion, even though that is the one thing I hate more than anything else in this world. So I don't. She hates that, and also she doesn't like me abusing people. Also, sadly, sadly,
That is not going to happen.
it's not like that. I don't know what to say for that.
Yeah, yeah.
It may happen. I may just leave it also.
Um, what is your what is your take on the current teaching methods, smart boards, technologies, and many things into teaching methods? Do you think conventional teaching is better?
It's not that. It's just that these are all tools. These are not content, right? The
Yeah.
content is the same. It's making you visualize better. It is not making you're making your content better. So the content is king anytime, right? Say for example, when I studied sliding filament theory, I had a lot of trouble visualizing it. But when I see an animation, it looks wonderful, right? But you need to understand or teach sliding filament theory properly. The content is important. What happens to the calcium? What happens to the ATP? All these things are the same, right? Yeah. So what I find is a lot of people, it's like the special effects in Indran or something like that. Indiran. No content, only special effects. So you need content with special effect. Then you get something like Inception or Matrix First Part. The other two Matrix was nonsensical. So I think that is what I think you need to do.
Do you think the this technology has made teachers' preparation for a topic very easier, or they have become lazy, as you say?
I think it's becoming lazier because because we have to remember when we were small, we had to sort of keep all the information in our tip of the
Yeah,
hands.
exactly. That's what.
Right, but now it's on the board, so you just have to read it. You don't have
Really.
to. Uh, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but what it does is it makes our preparation less, and then slowly it sort of regresses, and our content expertise becomes sort of lesser. That is a big problem. I've seen that
Okay.
also in people who are presenting in the conference also. Just
Yeah.
speaking,
Keeps
and
because
I
we
used
have
to
never
think that
seen
I can do that.
because we have never seen our Professor ADG sir coming up with a PowerPoint or an OHP sheet in his hand. He never used to come with that. He'll come with a marker. He finishes his class and he goes right royally. Okay, sir. A casual question. You're going to be in Thailand for a day. Would you prefer your
Right?
friends or your family?
Uh, Not really the friends. The family will. I don't even want my son. I and my wife.
Oh, that's great. Have you ever been threatened by someone?
Threaten?
Threatened? No. Great. What age is doing to Hariom? It's motivating him or it is pulling
I
him
am
down?
becoming more and more softer, if you can believe it.
And about
Because you can ask
uh,
Vasanth, I used to throw books and note at people who didn't do it properly. I have done all sorts of things. Now I don't do it. So people in the 90s will know that I have become soft.
okay. Do you see a need for a telemedicine sort of physiotherapy in this current scenario of COVID, where the post-COVID thing can be managed by telephonic conferences, or people who are in quarantine may need some motivation from physical point of view? Do we, there is a need for physiotherapists to come up with such plans?
I think so. I really, really think so. But a lot of people may have trouble with the technology or how to use it, and not the therapist point of view, patient point of so they may have trouble with the technology and things like that.
Exactly.
So, but I think we need to come up with some understanding or some idea, because what I'm not talking about, leave alone the people who have back pain and other things.
Hmm.
Think about people who have to have a dose of physical activity every day, from diabetes to hypertension, all non-communicable diseases. They are just sitting in one place.
Yeah,
So it's a preventive modality. I think that will be wonderful if we could come up with some solution for this.
great. How to make people believe in Indian Association of Physiotherapy? But right now they don't have much of belief. I see generally that people are not believing. Simply they're criticizing, or they are not responding to any calls from IAP. How to make people believe in IAP?
Uh, I think one of the problems we have with our association, we think that the association can achieve this and that. Uh, that is not possible. I have stood in line to wait Jayalalitha up to an amount of times. They would never call you. So even though I was not part of any association, they all wanted us to come, and we all went and stood. So what I would suggest is have a slightly smaller incremental objective. Right? You can't have a objective saying that I will do this or that. That's not possible. I think that we first need to educate our people about having incremental objectives, not just this and that. The other thing is we also want to show that we are working in some way. As I told you, even after 5 years, we may not get a proper council, but we could have done a lot of other things in the next 5 years, right?
Great.
I used to say this for a long, long time. Say, for example, you and I are practicing first contact. If you think like that, how did we learn to do that? Who gives us the authority to do that? Nobody. How did I learn to do screening of back patients?
Mm.
Nobody taught us, right? So why don't we do a training program for first contact practice? Bring somebody who is doing first contact practice for years together. Take Ravi, for example. He's doing first contact practice in stroke for years together. Ask
Okay.
him to teach for 3 years. Bring people from outside who are doing first contact practice. So this is that's what I mean by incrementally having a small goal and trying to achieve. So whenever you're going to talk to, even for lobbying, if you're going tomorrow for lobbying, you can say that, see, we have trained this many people in doing a first contact practice, right? But sadly, these type of things doesn't seem to be a major goal for our association, or teach us how to start a physiotherapy clinic. When I started, wanted to start a clinic, I didn't have the slightest clue what.
Mhm.
Most of my clinic was set up by because I didn't know even. Uh, can you hear me?
Sir, there was a slight disturbance.
Right.
Most of
So
your clinics were set up by
surrounded, right?
Sir.
Because I
Okay.
didn't know where to buy the machines, what machines to buy. I'm not talking about the traction machine and things like that. Just the exercise, anything, right? So, how to start a current account, right,
Mhm.
on your clinic's name.
Mhm.
So we can actually teach these things. These are all required for our, and these should be done by our association, right?
Yeah.
But sadly, we don't talk about that. We always talk about the Z, not the ABCD. Only the Z we will talk. That is council, council, council. That if managed now, it's all right. If it comes, okay. But before that, a lot of steps we can do.
Yeah. So can we see Hariohm K. Pandian in next IAP election?
Uh, Probably.
Great. That's a great news for people.
Because
uh,
what I found
so
is that if we shout from outside, it is not changing. So I think we should get
that
in.
is what
How
that is
will
what was my idea was also, sir, because people like you, if you get into it, some objectivity will be infused into IAP. That's what I also felt. Um, okay. So how do you see physiotherapy as a field down the lane after 10 years?
There are two answers to it. One is ideally, how should it become? In the next 10 years, there are two things we should be moving towards. One is uh, how to make adherence to physiotherapy as an important objective. That is, how to make them do exercise at home like this in the COVID situation. How will they do exercise when I am not there? That kind of adherence to exercise. The other one is in prevention of NCIDs, that is non-communicable diseases. Uh, how to have exercise programs for people with cardiovascular disease and diabetes and things like that. So if that is part and parcel of our preventive medicine, unlike malaria and COVID, that's not going to be in our field. So NCID, how to prevent, if that is going, and if you're going towards that in the next 10 years, I think that will be ideal for us.
That is the area of research, more focus of research needed there.
Should also be in that area.
Oh,
Yes, that is
great.
correct.
Uh, so now we are coming to the viewer's question. How
Right.
to make appalam? What are the ingredients of appalam?
I know cooking, but I
No,
don't
this
know.
question was specifically asked by Sri Kesavan Sabapati from Oxford
Mhm.
University, NHS.
Right.
He told me
Um,
reportedly that you asked him this question when he was your junior. You ragged him.
I'm assuming then there are two types of applums. One is with ulundu, I think, and
Uh,
but it should be
the,
right.
the next question is from Harish BPT. 400
Mhm.
admissions every year, 1,000 students, 100 MPT students. Is this growth or greedy?
Uh, this is greedy, I think. Already, a lot of people don't know this, but our um, our statistics of people graduating college, right, finishing college, is better than US. That
Yes.
is, Tamil Nadu statistics is better than US. That is why we have people who are studying BA and applying for conservation jobs and things like that. We already are producing more graduates than we can already
Yes.
assimilate. So you get what we call as education inflammation also, like money inflation also. I get education inflation also. I think that's going to happen. what is going to lead it to is that MPTs are going to be redundant in colleges.
Uh-huh.
Everybody will be going into PhDs, and
Uh-huh.
all MPTs will be clinical therapists. That kind of thing. That's what happens to MBBS also.
Okay. So Preeti, physiotherapist, is asking this question. How did you choose physiotherapy as a profession? And what motivates you to do CBNR seminars, clinical meets?
My mother was a nurse in Madurai GH. Um, when I finished 12th standard, actually I didn't know what to study. I was studying BSc zoology, and at that time nobody knew what was physiotherapy also. Because my mother was in GH, she knew what is physiotherapy, and she told me to go and join. Well, and actually, I didn't. I hated medicine because I have grown in Madurai GH most of my life. My
Okay.
mother was a single parent, so most of the time when I was leave it, I used to sit in the GH,
Hmm.
and it was stinking as you can imagine. So I hated the medical as such. Uh, so it's an accident. That's the smaller stuff. I don't want to get into that. Unlike the CBNR, as I told you, I would like to think of myself as a teacher more than anything else. And what I mean by teaching is um, um, knowing what I know to uh, teach to other people. Because uh, uh, I'm not saying I know everything or something like that, but I just found out that uh, if somebody has taught me like that, uh, I would have come to, I would have had a better understanding of things far more easier. Right? It took me years and years to understand even simpler things. So it comes from that place. If somebody has told me some things in my earlier days itself,
Hmm.
I would not have wasted 5 or 6 years coming to that place. So that is my that is the
Sorry.
motivation.
Great. Do you think principals and HODs are well placed and they are sort of being very selfish, because of which the career of the staffs in colleges are not growing?
Um, I don't want to. Um, it's easy to judge, but I am not. Uh,
So judgmental.
um, because I have seen a lot of people who are. Um, we can say that my principal is not doing anything, but
Hmm.
if the principal goes and asks the management, they also don't do anything. So sometimes it is not just him alone.
Okay.
There are things which he might be able to do, but most of the time I find that they're also in a precarious position.
Okay.
Uh, can they do better? There is no question. They can do better. There is no question about it. But that them alone are not a problem. It seems to be a complicated problem.
Okay. So Aragappan sports physiotherapist has asked this question:
Right?
why there is no progression in clinical physiotherapist career, like grade 1, grade 2, how they practice in abroad? Why do we don't have such grades, or why do clinical physiotherapists never become progressed in their life?
Uh, this is not a problem here also. Not just a problem in India. It's all over the world. Say for example, one of the reasons for that is uh, it's based on the if you look at a hospital, right? A, a private hospital. Um, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Please.
If
Yeah.
you look, sorry, if you look at a private hospital, they hardly have what 10, 10 posts as the maximum. So what they need is a supervisor, if you will, and then you need 9 people working under them. So what is the point of them giving them different slabs? That is the first problem. The other problem I find is that nobody sticks with any organization for such a long to have a
Growth.
going up and up, and that is also another issue. Uh, so there are a lot of issues like that, and also the that's where I also think our objective also has to come into play.
Yeah.
a physiotherapist objective is not to be a specialist, even though we think that we are a neuro specialist or a ortho specialist or things like that. It is not seeped into our healthcare system like that. Say, for example, if you go to the GH or any hospital, stroke patients are not seen only by MPT neuro people or people who are sort of trained specifically. It is not happening here. That is one of the reasons I said for all these things. And also
Okay.
it's a problem for everyone also.
So finally, last question: what is your strong message to your students?
Uh, the, uh, in one word, uh, read. And also the one thing I would, more important than reading is have an open mind. And also remember, uh, if you are not changing after reading, there is no value in reading at all.
Okay.
So if you already are thinking that, okay, I am going to do manual therapy and keep on reading about manual therapy, it is of no value to anybody. So read manual therapy as well as other people who are saying other things also. Because if you keep on reading manual therapy, what you will do is manual therapy alone. You will not do physiotherapy.
Okay.
So you need to have a proper understanding of the whole thing and read more and change your mind.
Yeah. So with this, we come to the end of our interview. Hope you
Right.
might have enjoyed it.
I hope it's of some.
No, sir. People are
Right.
seeing you from your different perspectives. So I
Right.
think this will open up a new way in which
I
people
hope
see
so.
you. Yeah, you have a lot of haters, you have a lot of followers, and I think
Yeah, that's
this will
okay.
neutralize things, because I
No,
have
we'll
an
see.
admiration. I have a lot of admiration for you because of the way you do things in a very different way. That's why I silently come to your messenger and I message you certain things. I follow you by means of asking Sharwan how sir is doing, and I ask him how to purchase this book also. So
Right.
I want to know more about a teacher whom I admire,
Right.
but I have not been in contact. So that's a great thing you have accepted for this interview. It will be useful
Right.
to people.
Right.
So
Thank you so
fine,
much
sir.
for having a talk with me. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Have a great day.